What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's the Backstage Slam Wrestling Podcast. It is episode number 202. Excuse me.
Almost lost 100 episodes there.
Episode 202. Josh and Ben here on the norms. And, yeah, we got a couple of hurricanes. Schwanky wanky with the United States.
Yeah, hitting on the same weekend.
Yeah. Right now, I got the Weather Channel muted. I'm looking at stuff going on in Texas, and currently on satellite, it looks like half of the hurricane has made landfall on Texas already. And tomorrow, in about 26 hours from now, I'm going to start to feel the effects of Hurricane Douglas hit my island tomorrow. So bit hectic. Honestly, I'm going to be upfront with everybody. I lost my train of thought for the podcast. I know what we're going to talk about, but I had so much I had to say until the neighbors is like, can you help us with our garage situation? Like, my husband's at work, and I was like, okay, sure. Me and my brother go out there, we help the neighbors, and then the other neighbors need help securing their stuff, and then all of a sudden our landlord is asking for help. It's like, yeah, can you young fellas come out and help us board up our windows, because I don't know if you noticed, but our house is much older than yours. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So it's been a pretty busy day.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been busy for you while I've just been watching movies and playing video games.
Oh, lucky you.
Lucky me. You know, I've said it on some other shows by now. My day job involves, being around kids and, school related. And since school is in summer break, even without, the virus, it's out for the summer.
Yeah.
The only problem is with the virus, everything is so jacked up, because in my field, when the summer rolls around, to make sure that, people have a reason to come back for the next school year, we collect unemployment and kind of sit tight. Some people get other jobs, but I'm not really sure that's, shown favor, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's a chance, hey, you get another job, maybe they don't want to come back, because working with kids can be difficult, and, my field has kind of a high turnover. But now with all of the regulations and health concerns, most of the people that I work with, not all, but definitely a good portion, are older, maybe not in the best of health, a lot of single parents. So people are weighing these options very carefully as we sit by waiting for, definitive answers and trying to figure out what's next. The only problem is, again, because everything's so jacked up, the unemployment that we're supposed to be getting hasn't come. I haven't gotten anything since May. And, I mean, I put some money aside, rainy day stuff, did get into that. I'd prefer not to. And if the school year comes back with a bang, that's not a problem. I got enough to last until then. The only problem is, of course, one, should the school year come back with a bang? I know I've opted to, not to get too personal, I'm not sending mine back. Because there are people in my household that have, underlying conditions that COVID-19 would just be disastrous to. As well of course, the kids' grandparents who just absolutely love to see them. So that's out of the question.
For here, where I'm at, school is supposed to start. Let me see. What is today? The 25th. School is supposed to start 2 weeks on Monday, on the 3rd, and they have postponed the start of the school year here. So is that still the same, or are they actually thinking about going to open up schools, at least in your county?
In my county, we were set to open on the 10th, but 2 days ago, the school board met in an emergency meeting that decided to push that back 10 days.
All right.
Again, problem being, right now, Florida is experiencing a massive spike in cases, and people are not so sure 10 days will be much of a difference. What gets me is, and we'll move on to tonight's topics, really quickly, but in all of this, they're saying that 1 or 2% of the kids are susceptible or in danger or could die. I think that's what they said. A 1% fatality rate. How about we go with that? And the point people seem to be missing when it comes to this is, so you're saying kids are going to die. That does it, and my money is dependent on these kids going back to school. So I have a very, very heavy investment in wanting to get back to work. Mm-hmm. But when my company called and said, "Hey, you going to be ready to go?" I said, "Yeah, but are you?" Whatever we do, I just want to make sure we do it safely, and I want to make sure that it is the right thing to do to keep as many people safe as possible. And right now, it just seems, they shut the schools down when things were much smaller, and now they want to open them again when things are much worse. It doesn't make any sense to me. But in the meantime, if I need to find, a new line of work, I can do that. It just would have been nice to be able to, collect, something while so many other people have been able to. Considering, especially, this is my routine for the year.
Yeah.
But welcome to the Backstage Slam.
It's actually kind of good that we got to get this stuff off of our chest, because it's like hey, we know you guys talk about wrestling, but what's up with you guys, man? We want to know a little bit more what's going on with you guys in IRL. So it's something that our fans have been asking every now and then. So it's good to get some of that stuff off of our chest. But you dealing with that, then I'm dealing with the hurricane. I don't know. We apologize if our minds are scattered brain throughout this episode. What are the topics we're talking about again?
It would have been nice to have like an all hands on deck thing for the first part. A lot of differing opinions and views are great, but with everything that's going on in WWE, AEW, and especially New Japan, factions seem to have taken hold in the world of wrestling. Everybody, it's not just like, oh, the New Day. There are a bunch of people that hang out and chill together. I'm talking about groups that have a purpose, and they aren't afraid to go after it.
Yeah. And another thing too, which is good for pro wrestling in general, Impact within the last 2 weeks got his biggest ratings bump in years, all thanks to a bunch of ex-WWE cast-offs showing up on the brand, making their place at home.
Yeah. Sorry, you cut out for me. Everybody else could hear you, but I couldn't.
Oh, okay. Well, just letting you know, it is windy and it is starting to rain again. So it could just be my internet connection. I'm not sure. Discord says I have yellow bars, so it could be me.
But the general idea was, talking about factions, everything, not just what's going on now, but getting an idea of where everybody stands on what makes a good faction, what are the best factions that we've seen, and so on and so forth.
Ooh, right now,
LIJ, I know.
No, right now, Bullet Club. I gotta keep it real. Bullet Club right now got the big surge. So in case anybody didn't know, Evil, one of the members of Los Ingobernables de Japón, my boys, turned his back on the leader Tetsuya Naito and ended up winning the New Japan Cup and defeated Naito and became the New Japan double champion, intercontinental and world champion. And as of last night, he defeated Hiromu Takahashi, who stepped up to heavyweight to try and revenge the loss for Naito. Right now, it seems like half of the people in the Bullet Club, at least on social media, are on board calling it the evil era. But Jay White and Tama Tonga, they kind of were like, evil era. I don't know about that. It's like, okay, we need to talk. So it looks like not all of Bullet Club are united. They are happy that Evil is aboard. They're all aboard the Bullet Club train. They are happy that the Bullet Club are holding on to the top two titles in the entire company. But yeah, it looks like I don't know. We might have a Jay White faction and we might have an Evil faction. Who knows? Because of travel restrictions between the states and Japan, half of the half of the Bullet Club that's not there currently, I guess they're all kind of taking each other's side, while the ones that are actually there performing currently are all standing behind Evil. So I don't know if it's a storyline or not, but it's very, very interesting. And it's good for the Bullet Club because I always thought that the Bullet Club has started to become a little bit lackluster lately. I have not been the biggest supporter, or should I say, I don't think Jay White had the really big pop moment whenever there was a new leadership change. I always thought it should be Bad Luck, Fale, or even better, Tama Tonga. Those two have the most, seniority out of everybody in the Bullet Club currently. And with the Good Brothers heading back to Japan with their deal with Impact that allows them to work New Japan Pro Wrestling, there might be hope that there is going to be a better working relationship between both of those companies. And yeah, because New Japan Pro Wrestling has lost its TV deal, so they don't have any regional coverage anymore. Access no longer has broadcasting rights for New Japan Pro Wrestling or New Japan Pro Wrestling of America. As of right now, any future New Japan events will be on pay-per-view or carried via, I think, New Japan World. But yeah, things are very, very interesting there. Naito losing, Hiromu Takahashi losing, who he still is the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, losing. It's a big blow to LIJ. This is the weakest that LIJ has ever been. Right now, the strongest, most consistent member is Shingo Takagi. who was very close to becoming my wrestler of the year last year. He finished in third place behind Moxley and my winner Chris Jericho. Um, but Takagi is set for a big year. Um, he is the current never open weight champion. And here's the weird thing, Josh. Sonata has been MIA throughout this whole ordeal. I don't know what's up. There was rumors that AEW and NXT was interested in him. There was rumors that he didn't re-sign with the company back in May. There was rumors that he did re-sign back to New Japan back in May. We don't know. Evil has been MIA throughout this whole ordeal. And Bushi, poor Bushi, man, he's basically the human pincushion for the team. So yeah, LIJ is a bit down. Chaos is pretty much in chaos because you got Okada and then you got everybody else. Okada has been performing well, but everybody else hasn't been doing so well. It's kind of like there's like little factions or little cliques within Chaos, and it kind of looks like Chaos and Taguchi Japan, you know, with Ryusuke Taguchi and Kota Ibushi and Hiroshi Tanahashi. It kind of looks like they're allied with each other now since before the pandemic and right now currently. So those two groups are kind of like intermingling with each other, especially in tag matches, which is really an interesting dynamic. And Suzuki Gun, they lost Lance Archer. They lost one more person. I don't remember who, and they also lost who did they lose? They lost Isuka to retirement. But right now, it looks like the top two guys who are the current tag team champions. It is Zack Sabre Jr. and the guy that everybody hates. He should not be named, who pretends to be an opera singer. So, yeah, like everything in New Japan Pro Wrestling that was before got dumped in its head, and it's now the reverse. Like all the strong players are now weak, and all the weak players that were struggling last year are now at the top of their game. And so when it comes to factions, New Japan Pro Wrestling is, I don't know, it kind of looks like they did a massive reboot. It's real interesting.
And I think it's important to note when it comes to New Japan, factions have always, or maybe not always, but and definitely in recent years have played a really big role when it comes to, you know, everybody. It just seems like you ain't somebody unless you got somebody to, you know, put it in simple terms. Everybody has a friend, it seems, in New Japan. You hardly see anybody roll alone, whether it's LIJ, Chaos, Suzuki Gun, Bullet Club. That's basically the main event picture in a nutshell, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I know you said Bullet Club is the one that seems to be firing on all cylinders right now, especially with the addition of Evil. Talk about, let's see, you covered Chaos. What can, say, Suzuki going to do to elevate? Because, I don't know, I don't see anything coming near the IWGP Heavyweight Championship right now from them.
Right. Okay, so right now, the main person, Zack Sabre Jr. and the man who should not be named because we all hate him, Taichi is who I'm speaking of. These two guys have pretty much taken over. You know, I wouldn't say take over the group from Suzuki. Suzuki's still the leader, but they just basically jumped to the forefront. So Taichi has wins over Okada already since they started going back over wrestling, and Zack Sabre Jr. has wins over Tanahashi, and and of course they defeated Lij for the was it Lij or Bullet Club for the tag titles. But so those two guys have totally taken over. They lost Lance Archer. They lost their muscle. From what I understand, Davey Boy Smith Jr. is not going back to New Japan Pro Wrestling anytime soon. And El Desperado and that other dude that's usually with him, they're just basically cannon fodder, much like Bushi is currently for Lij. And Suzuki, I don't know. I think Suzuki has been, uh, you know, Suzuki's 50, 51. So I think they're being really careful. I think he's being very careful, with his health. Try not to push things too far. So it's basically a two-man show for Suzuki going right now. What can they do? I guess they got to recruit. I don't know who they're gonna recruit, but some of the young lions look pretty good. Carl Fredericks looked pretty decent last night against Jeff Cobb. He's put on some muscle. Who knows? Or maybe they go with what's Hirai Kawato's new name? Master Wato with the blue hair. Maybe they get him. I'm not sure. Or any other one of the young lion graduates. Wato, Master Wato. But yeah, they definitely need to rebuild their ranks. I think they need to rebuild their ranks more than anybody.
And at the very least, get somebody that will be up there with Okada in the main event doing something.
Yeah.
Now,
well, right now, I think Evo has it out for. I think the Bullet Club right now, they are set to destroy Lij. I don't know, man. Like, I kind of want to get this feeling like if Lij cannot recover from this, does this mean that they're leaving New Japan? I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking too far ahead. I'm booking too far ahead. I don't want to make anything say like, oh, Naito's going to AEW. Oh, that'll be like my wet dream right there. You know that, but Naito likes New Japan, and he only usually travels to Mexico and does big shows while in the States. So I don't know. But Lij right now right now they honestly, and it hates for me to admit this, they're at the bottom heap of the pile in terms of power rankings, in my opinion. Then I would go with Taguchi Japan, then Suzuki Gun, then I would go with Chaos by slim margin, and then standing on top is Bullet Club. That's how I would rank it.
Okay, why don't we talk about the groups that are running roughshod in AEW right now? First and foremost, that comes to mind is, of course, the Inner Circle.
Yep.
Chris Jericho's put together quite the team there.
Yep. We also got the Elite. We also got the Nightmare Family, who, from what I understand, okay, this is not me. I'm in the AEW Discord, and I see like, oh, the Nightmare Family are like a side, or should I say like a brother or sister group to the Elite. Okay, whatever, because they technically count Cody as a member of the Elite. So okay, but we got the Nightmare Family. We also have the Dark Order. We also have the Dark or the Death Triangle, with the Lucha Brothers and Pac. But Pac has been stuck due to the travel restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just recently, Lucha Brothers came back, and they're going to be in a program with the FTR. So we got that, and Team Taz. I think that was the name of the T-shirt. So Taz is forming a new stable with Brian Cage and oh geez, what's his name? I can't even remember his name. I'm looking it up real quick. It's uh Team Taz. It's Ricky Starks. So Taz has got Team Taz with Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. We got the Lucha Express with Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt. We got SEU, 3-man team. We also got Best Friends with Orange Cassidy, who, from what I understand, are still considered members of Chaos at New Japan, even though they don't wrestle there nowadays. And I think that's it. I'm trying to remember. I think that's all the current stables that are at least three people within a stable. Can you think of any more?
Let's see. You said Lucha Express?
Yep.
SoCal Uncensored?
Yep. Death Triangle, Dark Order, Elite.
The Butcher and the Blade have something going, right?
I think they're a tag team now because Bunny is now with the Nightmare Family, supposedly, with Dustin, QT Marshall, and Brandy. Which they still never explained why she ditched her husband's tag team. So I don't get that there, unless she's using them and recruits QT Marshall over to whatever stable they're going to call themselves. The Butcher, the Blade, and the Apple. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't really think of any other any other factions going on. I mean, that's a lot. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but
And they even have way more tag teams as well. Jeez.
There's a fundamental difference, though, between how AEW's been running their thing and say, New Japan, where, yeah, it seems like everybody in AEW, when it comes to being at the top of the card, or hell, even being in the middle of the card, there's somebody there backing you up. But while there seem to be a lot of distinct groups, it seems more like we're a bunch of cliques that hang together rather than a formidable team that, ride or dies. The Inner Circle being a good exception of that. Even the Elite, even though they tag together on occasion, seem to be more focused on their own goals rather than, say, protecting one person to get them to the main event.
That's when we talk about future forecasting. I got plenty of juice for that Elite storyline.
And I cannot wait to get to that. We'll probably switch over that in the next 3 to 5 minutes. In the meantime, I just want to add Chris Jericho's faction, the Inner Circle, and all of the little... And I think it's cool that no matter who he's tagging with, there's just like a tag team name to go with it.
You know who I want? You know who I want to... okay. According to Jeff Cobb, he says that he's not a member of the inner circle, but the inner circle has him on retainer. And this is him being on character on Twitter. But if there was anybody I would hope the inner circle pick up, I hope AEW signs him soon. And I think you know who I'm talking about, Josh. He just recently faced Cody for the TNT Championship.
Me?
Yes, Josh.
Yes. I knew it. It's finally me.
Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston has a history with Santana and Ortiz, as Eddie Kingston was also a part of LAX, as is Santana and Ortiz back when they were in TNA/Impact.
So it would have been better if it was me.
Well, if you're gonna name your crew the Boricuas or something, then yeah.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to do, but thanks for spoiling it. Take a sip of the old bubbly, and by bubbly I mean tea. Because it's less prominent and much, much less important in WWE when it comes to factions, we'll give a couple of minutes to them, I guess. I've not been watching a ton of Raw or SmackDown, and by a ton of, I mean any at all. I did watch this week's Raw, and I ripped a little GIF from the episode featuring, Zelina and her boys, because it was it was not great. I mean, don't get me wrong. They delivered the dialogue as I guess good as possible, but quoting from that this week's episode of Raw, Angel says, "You know what? We are on the same page." And Selena says, "Prove it." And Andrade looks at her and he's like, "Okay." And that's it. She's like, "Prove it."
Man.
Okay. Like, right. That's some top-notch creative right there. I mean, I don't like to be the guy that talks negatively, but there's just been so little really good stuff to talk about. So much so that we were intentionally going out of our way to not talk about the recent pay-per-view. And it's tough, man, especially as someone that loves not only the company but the business itself, to have to say that. It feels rough. And in this particular conversation, talking about factions, one of the things that we did see, of course, was Shelton Benjamin becoming 24/7 champion, joining Lashley and MVP to become the Hurt Business. That's apparently a thing now.
THB. Sounds like a drug.
And it's not like Vince would know what that is anyway. If you recall the conversations, someone said about when they brought in Rob Van Dam, does Vince know that 420 means getting high? And he's like, nope. Otherwise it wouldn't have flown at all. But anyway, hearsay, objection. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to factions, I'm going to say it, never been important. Never. Yeah, DX was, I'd say, an exception to the rule. The Evolution was an exception to the rule.
Nexus?
Nexus was not important. We knew this because they lasted a while, but they never achieved dominance. Wade Barrett should have been WWE champion. That would have cemented their legacy. Not taking on John Cena as a member to have it implode. No, Wade Barrett should have been a dominant leader in that group, and he should have been WWE champion. You know, even if it's by hook or by crook, cheating, whatever the case is. I mean, Adam Cole, he has the Undisputed Era watching his back. So when he went on, what was it, Pat McAfee?
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? When they did that spot on the show, and, you know, Adam Cole has to answer questions like, you know, well, not questions, but statements like, you know, the only reason you are where you are is because you got an Undisputed Era watching your back. You surround yourself with talented people. That lends to good storytelling, because even though it's, you know, completely true character-wise, you know, he, you know, just gets pissed off, storms out, you know, cussing the host out as he's walking out the door. And the thing is, the Undisputed Era are doing exactly what a faction should be doing. That's why they're special. That's why they're a faction. You have a leader, and your goal is to not only help them get to the top, but keep them there, because while they are on top, you get some of that spotlight too. You know, that's the idea. Power. It's attention. It's money. And right now, I'd say in any kind of WWE programming, the Undisputed Era is the only one that gets this, that understands this. Evolution was really good at this back in the day, especially when it came to making it time to let go of Evolution, because it wasn't, you know, oh, we're done. It was, they helped protect Triple H so long that Randy Orton wanted a piece of that spotlight. He was able to do what Triple H couldn't. And rather than celebrate him for it, he was destroyed for it. And Batista, seeing this, you know, kind of lays low, and then when it's his turn to shine, he said, you are not going to take this away from me. And he basically destroyed anybody that tried to deny him his spot. But before all of that, when Evolution was running its strongest, you had Orton and Batista protecting Triple H, and Ric Flair kind of, I'd say he was like calling the shots as a coach, not as a leader, but
I'd say he was the instigating member who would serve as the comic relief, but actually, you know, does help out whenever he can.
He definitely had that air of experience to help push the group further.
You were supposed to be the spiritual remake of the Four Horsemen through Ric Flair. So I guess there are some like parallelities between those two groups, to a point.
Yeah, you know, Triple H was the Ric Flair of Evolution. You know, Orton and Batista could have been pretty much, you know, anybody else from the Horsemen. Flair is the only outlier, not because he's Ric Flair.
If we're looking at the more modern version of the Four Horsemen, Ric Flair would have been Steve Mongo McMichael.
He's the guy that kind of he makes the road easier for the champ.
Yeah.
By setting pieces into place. But I still stand by what I said. Factions have never been a priority for WWE. There are a handful, 3 maybe, true exceptions to the rule. And one of them is in NXT right now. Can you think of any good factions in the last, you know, other than Undisputed, you know, straight main roster?
not to the hardcore fan, but not to the casual fan. But COVID pretty much put a halt to it. Man, Imperium had an amazing, dominant 2019 for NXT UK.
I
Walter
almost
winning
find
the
it difficult.
UK title. Oh,
I find it difficult to count that because WWE, you know, let's be very specific here. Vince McMahon has seemingly very nothing to do with what goes on there. So that's why I'm saying separate NXT and all the brands aside. We're talking Raw, SmackDown, main roster. What was the last solid faction? Because everything that's been brought up, that's worked. Everything that's been brought up from NXT, Sanity was a pretty solid faction when they were in NXT. They were brought up and fell flat immediately, like a lot of things. So what?
I wouldn't say they were dominant, but I thought they were one of the coolest, and I marked out big time for them. The Nation of Domination with Farouk, Rock, and the boys.
So you say even
very similar way to Evolution, where guys kind of wanted the spotlight more than the leader, and the Rock eventually outs Farouk, became a WWF champion, and he started running the Nation of Domination until Stone Cold Steve Austin destroyed the Nation of Domination, basically. I really like them. But I wouldn't count them as, like a really, really dominant thing. But they were one of my favorites. I actually like Nation of Domination more than I like DX. They weren't as popular, they weren't as big or known, but I liked the premise of the Nation of Domination more.
I mean, it was founded on better ideas than DX was. And I was going to say, do we even add late era DX when it was basically just Triple H and Shawn Michaels being a tag team using that moniker?
I couldn't stand them. Just honestly, I couldn't stand them. Like, the biggest problem is, well, of course, Vince McMahon. And the second problem is they're not making new stars for the next 10 years. They keep relying on the stars of the last 10 years, and it's just getting monotonous. Crazy. Finn Balor should be Universal Champion or WWE Champion right now, but he's not. He decided to go back to NXT because he doesn't want to be with Vince. And that's a hard pill to swallow because, I posted this on Twitter, I think last night or 2 nights ago. Actually last night, I posted on Twitter something along the lines of, if you are a tag team on the main roster in WWE, I am all but convinced that after watching last night's SmackDown, the main roster tag team division in WWE is all but dead. Why? Because they keep splitting their tag teams up, and nearly half of their tag team roster, one of their, one or both guys is injured. The New Day, legitimate injuries, out for a week or two, or maybe more. We just found that out this morning. So, yeah, Kofi might have a concussion after taking that huge table bomb. Big E's, battered and bruised. Man, it's pretty awful. And Heavy Machinery, the last I heard that they were going to split them up. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, tag team, let alone stables, is pretty much all but dead. And we have one guy to blame when we all know who that is. And it's probably the reason why I plan to not watch WWE for August. The entire month. Take a break from all WWE, even NXT. And the only thing I'm going to check out on NXT is Keith Lee and Karrion Kross. That's it.
That's quite the commitment, man.
Yep. I hope they don't give us Karrion Kross and Keith Lee next month. I hope they wait a little bit longer for that. Because I want Keith Lee to hold the belt for a little bit longer. So I kind of hope that they just keep teasing Karrion Kross throughout this year, and then maybe around January, February, March, between the Rumble and Mania, that's when they just give the jetpack to Karrion Kross, and then maybe call up Keith Lee at the Rumble or something. Oh wait, we're getting into our last segment too early. Oops.
No, now is the perfect time to talk about the next 5 years in pro wrestling. We're going to give a shot at, give it a crack, making some predictions and what we think. I don't know if it's what we think will happen, what we think we want to happen, but Ben, look into your crystal ball and where do you want to begin this? Because I know both of us have ideas of people jumping ship, whether it's AEW to WWE, WWE to New Japan. We both see people leaving, prominent people leaving their positions to go somewhere else. So why don't you take over and guide us through this?
Okay. To make things very simple, I do not see, in the next 3 to 5 years, I do not see Roman Reigns, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Andrade, and Shinsuke Nakamura in WWE. I also see Okada leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think he may want to actually go to WWE, but I would rather him go to AEW because most of his friends there. But if Okada, I know Vince finds Okada to be very intriguing, and maybe Vince sees more potential of carrying the company on his back, on a foreigner's back, with him more than he does Nakamura, because when Nakamura came to WWE, he was already 36, and Okada is only 31, so there's still way more mileage in Okada. And I think that's the big ones. I don't see anybody really leaving for greener pastures from AEW over to somewhere else, but I'd like to see Flip Gordon go to AEW, get an opportunity. And the whole situation with Marty Scurll is up in the air. There's a lot of controversy with him right now, so I don't want to put him in this situation, because I just want to wait and see what's going to become of him, because ROH isn't doing anything, NWA isn't doing anything, and it's just AEW, WWE, Impact, and New Japan, and Stardom for the ladies, the Joshis. But that's pretty much the layman terms for the landscape that I see. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Bailey might follow Sasha out of WWE. Who knows? From what I understand, Tessa is about to sign to WWE, and that they might actually do an Evolution 2, just so that Tessa can actually show up at the end of the show and lay out whoever is the women's champion at the end of that show. Whatever, that was the plan in the works. I do believe we're going to see Keith Lee versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I don't know if it's going to be next WrestleMania or not, because I know that Brock is tired of wrestling. Kenny Omega, is going to take the belt off of John Moxley. Kenny Omega is going to turn on the Elite, and we're going to. I don't know. We're going to have the cleaner back, and I think he's going to be a tweener. You know, he's a bad guy, but everybody loves him because that's the best Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega being a dick and the AEW champion. Who knows? Maybe Adam Cole leaves WWE, doesn't resign, doesn't go up to the main roster. Maybe he shows up in AEW in a couple of months from now, and then he allies himself with Kenny Omega, and then they start a new, a new group. Who knows? That would be freaking amazing, to be honest. And there's got to be somebody from New Japan making their debut in AEW. I hope it's Naito, but it's probably going to be more like Sonata, maybe. Or any of the young lions coming up through that system. I don't know, man. There's a lot you can play with that, but in terms of making big impacts, that's probably it. What would be the biggest game changer that would actually start big interest in, like, a really actually get the pro wrestling to boom again, is if CM Punk shows back up, but not in WWE, in AEW. What a massive turn of events that would lead to, business wise. That would be pretty much amazing. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't know, Roman or Joe Anoa'i. How about you, Josh?
Let's see. 5 years. Well, my first bold prediction, okay? I don't think Vince McMahon's running the show within the next 5 years.
Are you saying what I think you're saying? No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm not saying he's going to sell it, but I will say that I think his son-in-law will be running things within the next 5 years. Let's see. And I think when that happens, you're going to see certain people less than interested in saying, I think, let's say, Charlotte and Andrade, they leave. Not because of Triple H by any means, but I don't know. It just seems like both of them have something they'd like to prove, and they'd also want a bigger role in controlling their own careers. And I'm not sure if the WWE is going to be ever in a position to make Andrade an actual main event player. He's got the skill, he's got the mouthpiece, but I don't know, just especially under present management, I don't see him ever becoming the main event player he needs to be. So if he goes, naturally I think Charlotte will want to be close, to her husband, and that also means that Rick would probably wind up going wherever they go, since, I mean, let's face it, AEW is the only really game in town for someone like Charlotte Flair to go somewhere and continue to be who she is, right? She's not going to be able to main event major events in Japan. Andrade, sure, but no, not her. I think they'll put it this way: Andrade goes to AEW, and you mentioned this before in our chat. Maybe he opens up a new chapter of Los Ingobernables. See, I'm stealing your idea. And I would hope at that point that AEW and New Japan have some sort of working relationship, and we see, Los Ingobernables de Japón get to have some sort of war, some faction war with Los Ingobernables de I don't know, Estados Unidos, whatever, America, whatever it's going to be.
Hey Josh,
yeah.
I hate to dip out, but I'm being summoned.
Okay, are you going to be back? Because I need to know whether I just need to just vamp until you get back, or actually wrap up the show.
We can wrap it up now, I guess. Yeah, because I think probably going to take half an hour to board up the rest of the windows.
Okay, then I will make one more prediction. If and when Triple H takes control, he will definitely be more inclined to take it to a much earlier WWF type mentality when it comes to bringing in uncontracted talents, and we could see some major crossovers. I think, and this is just pure speculation, that if Triple H takes over all of WWE, within 5 years, we could see the IWGP Heavyweight Championship defended at WrestleMania. Boom, said it.
Holy crap. That would be amazing.
And
I just got
the WWE Championship defended at Wrestle Kingdom.
I just got something even better. I said this on one of our first podcasts, or one of the first ever BSP podcasts. If every large pro wrestling organization had a massive tournament like the G1 and gets a shot at any world championship at the winner's choosing at any promotion on their biggest show later that year, like Pro Wrestling Olympics, but it's a tournament. And
they could do that for the Rumble.
Only so many people. Like, maybe start off with a field of 64 talent, but of course, some of the bigger brands or bigger promotions will have, a limited amount of people, so that they're not, getting a stranglehold on that tournament.
You have to either be a world champion or a continental champion of some kind. Yeah. How about that?
Or former multi-world champion.
If you've had world champion attached to your name, all current world champions get an automatic in. But if you're a former world champion, say the tiebreaker goes to how many reigns you've had.
Yeah.
That would be pretty sweet.
With that said, my name is Ben. You can follow me on Twitter, and I'll be trying to give updates throughout tomorrow at twitter.com/YoBroMMO, at YoBroMMO.
And I am Josh. You can always find me on Twitter at SkitComic. And if you want to find out anything else about Semicore Studios and the stuff that I do, go to SemicoreStudios.com. But be sure to join us here each and every week, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Hawaiian, for the Backstage Slam podcast. Go to SemicorePods.com to join us live in the chat. And if you are listening to this on a delayed basis, if you're a downloader, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and let the world know what you think. All associated links for our social media and everything else can be found at BackstageSlam.com. So hit those places up. Let us know what you think. And I guess we're out of here.
Too sweet.
Too sweet.